We're not a movement where I can snap my fingers and say to you or to anybody else what you should do, because you won't listen to me. You shouldn't. You'll make these decisions yourself. I think if we end up losing, and I hope we do not, and if Secretary Clinton wins, it is incumbent upon her to tell millions of people who right now do not believe in establishment politics or establishment economics, who have serious misgivings about a candidate who has received millions of dollars from Wall Street and other special interests. She has got to go out to you and to millions of other people and say, yeah, I think the United States should join the rest of the industrialized world and take on the private insurance companies and the greed of the drug companies and pass a Medicare for all.
I would veto anything that delays providing the security and the certainty of health care being available now. My opposition relates to whether or not, A, it's doable, 2, what the cost is, and what the consequences for the rest of the budget are.
Country, we pay twice as much as any country on earth per capita for health care.
The private providers, as well as the drug companies, are out to maximize their income.
The privatized healthcare system shows how wasteful and inefficient capitalist healthcare is.
The major parties don't have answers. They're not talking about these issues in a serious way.
We want comprehensive healthcare for all.
Polling has shown that the majority of people want that kind of system.
We're talking about comprehensive healthcare for all as a right. Single payer would provide everybody with comprehensive coverage with no out-of-pocket expenses.
We're talking about Medicare for all.
If you want Medicare for all, you're not going to get those things from the Democratic Party. The Green Party's for it, and that's one other reason why people should vote for the Green Party.
Healthcare should not be a buy or die commodity. It should be a right. It should be a public service.
That's what we got to do.
Somebody said we can't afford Medicare for all. I think we can't afford not to have it.
I think that, says Secretary Clinton, that for the young people in this country, you should not have to leave college $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt, because we're going to make, as many other countries around the world do, public colleges and universities tuition free.
I think we should have free community college, cutting in half the cost of a college education. Everything below, from high school to 2 years of community college, should be free, including trade school.
Working class life expectancies are declining in this country. And so the Economic Bill of Rights is about ending poverty and economic despair. It includes the right to a job, an income above poverty, affordable housing, comprehensive health care, lifelong public education, and a secure retirement.
I think Secretary Clinton is going to have to explain to millions of young people and a lot of other people that climate change is a real crisis and incrementalism is just not going to solve it.
Vice President Biden, let me ask you then. You talk about this being the number one crisis.
Yes.
They told you at the Pentagon. The price tag for your climate plan is about $1.7 trillion. That's about $14 trillion less than Senator Sanders wants to spend on this. Is your plan ambitious enough to tackle this crisis?
Yes, it is ambitious enough to tackle the crisis.
So I was the first candidate in this country to campaign on a Green New Deal in 2010. And that addresses the climate crisis. We want to get to 100% clean energy and zero to negative carbon emissions by 2030, because that is what the climate science carbon budgets say rich countries like the United States need to do if we're going to avoid the worst of this climate calamity.
The point that I am making is it is incumbent upon Secretary Clinton to reach out not only to my supporters, but to all of the American people with an agenda that they believe will represent the interest of working families, lower income people, the middle class, those of us who are concerned about the environment and not just big money interests.
Biden spoke at a private fundraiser earlier this week and told the big donors that he didn't want to demonize the wealthy, and added that under his presidency, no one's standard of living will change. Nothing will fundamentally change.
Both these politicians, both these major parties represent the corporate elite in this country. And until, we start voting for what we want, we're never going to get it. So the question is, how are you going to vote against Trump? You vote for Biden and you want Medicare for all? You want a real Green New Deal? He's against those things. You just voted against what you want. Everybody knows what the green ticket stands for. We do stand for Medicare for all and a Green New Deal and an Economic Bill of Rights and peace initiatives to get us back from the brink of nuclear war. And if you want that, if you don't vote for it, you're certainly not going to get it from Biden. You vote for Biden, you get lost in the sauce. They don't know you want Medicare for all and a full-strength Green New Deal. You voted for Joe Biden, and he's against those things. So that's what I would say to people. You know, you don't have to vote for Biden to vote against Trump. We'll fight Trump better than the Democrats do.
We're not a movement where I can snap my fingers and say to you or to anybody else what you should do, because you won't listen to me. You shouldn't. You'll make these decisions yourself. You know, we're not a movement where I can snap my fingers and say to you or to anybody else what you should do, because you won't listen to me. You shouldn't. You'll make these decisions yourself.